Hey guys, welcome to the Tax Facts channel. I take tax information straight from the IRS publications and I make videos with examples to help you better understand this complicated tax codes. For those of you with prior tax knowledge, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think, what your thoughts are on this video. And those of you who are new to taxes, don't know where to begin, what to look for, I think you'll really like this video, and a lot of the other videos I'm going to be making will be perfect for those starting out with no knowledge. So please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave any comments below of what you may want to learn specifically about. I can make videos. I'm looking for ideas, so please let me know. Okay, so this video today we're talking about the income tax return. This is actually part 1 of 4. This is what I'm talking about for those who are new to taxes. We're starting from the very beginning, the very basic, filing the income tax return. This video, we're specifically talking about the filing information. Of course, I have that disclaimer. Guys, this is not an all-inclusive list of the filing requirements. You can get the full list of requirements from the IRS Publication 17. Go to Google, type in IRS Publication 17. All this information is directly from there. Of course, I have to say this is not a tax consultation, guys. Just an informational video. None of this information in these videos are my ideas. This is strictly factual information directly from the IRS. Always consult a tax professional for further information. The topic we're going to discuss in this video is whether or not we have to file an income tax return. How do we know we're required to file an income tax return? We're going to go through each category and discuss whether or not you need to and what the requirements are. We definitely want to make sure we're filing that return if we're required, especially if we're expecting a refund. We want to make sure we get any money back that we paid. And we want to make sure also that we're paying our taxes if they're owed. We have to be aware that there's a failure to file penalty and a failure to pay penalty. So we want to make sure we're filing on time and we're paying any taxes that are due. Okay guys, so I'm going to do my best not to read word for word what's on the screen, but I also do not want to put my spin on things. I want this video to be as factual as possible. Okay? So, who is required to file a return? You're required to file a federal income tax return if you're a U.S. citizen or a resident of the United States or a resident of Puerto Rico, and you meet these 5 filing requirements. You're either an individuals in general, dependents, certain children under age 19 or a full-time student, self-employed persons, or aliens. And I'm going to get into each of these in just a moment. Individuals in general. Whether or not you must file a federal income tax return depends on these 3 factors. Depends on your gross income. What is gross income? It's all the income you receive in the form of money, goods, property, and services that is not exempt from tax. So we're talking your salary, commissions, rental income, interest income, dividend income. Next, your filing status. Your filing status is determined on the last day of your tax year, which is December 31st for most taxpayers. And just some examples of filing status: you're either single, you're married filing separately, married filing jointly, head of household, or you're a qualifying widow or widower. And lastly, your age. If you are age 65 or older at the end of the tax year, you generally have a higher amount of gross income than other taxpayers before you must file. or I should say you can have a higher amount of gross income than other taxpayers before you are required to file. Also, I want to make a note, if you are actually considered 65 on the day before your 65th birthday. So, for example, if your 65th birthday is on January 1st of 2022, you are considered 65 for the 2021 tax year. Before we move on to the gross income amounts that determine if you're required to file an income tax return, I want to take a sidestep here and talk about the standard deduction. What is the standard deduction? It's an amount of income not subject to taxation. It's set by the government and the IRS, and it's adjusted each year for inflation. So basically, it's an amount of income that reduces an individual's taxable income. Now, the government does allow an increased standard deduction for certain circumstances. For taxpayers who are age 65 or older, they're entitled to an increase in their standard deduction, as well as taxpayers who are blind. Okay, so let's talk about the gross income that determines if you're required to file. The reason I wanted to discuss the standard deduction was because they're very similar values to the requirements that determine if you're supposed to file your income tax return. There's one filing status that is different than the standard deductions, and I'll explain that now. So for those who are filing your status as single, and at the end of the year you are not 65 or older, you must file your income tax return if your gross income is $12,550. If you're married filing jointly, and let's say you and your spouse are 65 or older, that's where you get that increased standard deduction. So if you're both under 65, your standard deduction is $25,100. But if you are both older than 65, you get that increased standard deduction of $27,800. Now here's why I wanted to mention this earlier. If you're married filing separately, of any age, if you earn $5 or more, you are required to file your income tax return. For those of you that are filing head of household, you're under 65. If you've earned $18,800, you're required to file your income tax return. And if you're a qualifying widow or widower, it follows along with the same amounts for married filing jointly. If you're under 65 and you've earned $25,100, you're required to file your income tax return. I want to give you a few examples of whether or not you need to file your income tax return. First, we have George, age 47. He's earned $35,000 as a school teacher. At the end of tax year 2021, he was not married. Given his gross income of $35,000, George is required to file his income tax return. And given the fact that George was not married at the end of 2021, he must file as single. Moving on, we have Mary, age 27. She's earned $12,300 as a part-time receptionist. She is not married as of December 31st of 2021. Mary is not required to file her income tax due to her gross income amount. Now, although Mary is not required to file an income tax return, she may want to do so anyway to claim a refund for any taxes withheld in her paycheck and any credits she may qualify for. And last, we have a married couple where they were married on December 1st of 2021. Now, just because you were married at the end of the year, You can still file as married the following tax season. You do not have to be married the entire year to claim a married filing status. So Peter and Jessica got married in December, and Peter's earned $32,500 and Jessica's earned $40,000. Their combined gross income for 2021 is $72,500. They are required to file their income tax return, but they must file as either married filing jointly or married filing separately, but they cannot file as single. Moving on to the next category, dependents. If you are a dependent, you're one who meets the dependency tests. See the filing requirements for dependents chart to find out whether you must file a return. I took this slide directly from the IRS Publication 17 page. It's a little small, so what I did was I broke it up into sections so that you can visualize it a little better. So the first couple slides are single dependents. If you were or were not either age 65 or older, you must file a return if any of these apply to you. So let's go through these. For those of you who are single dependents and you are not either age 65 or older or blind, you must file a return if any of the following apply to you. Your unearned income, that can be interest income, dividend income, if your unearned income was more than $1,100. If your earned income, talking your salary or your wages, if your earned income was more than $12,550, you must file a return. Or if your gross income was more than the larger of $1,100, or your earned income plus $350. So this is where that standard deduction of $12,550 comes in at. As soon as you have earned income of $12,550, you must file that return. So that's why it's saying your earned income plus $350, but up to $12,200. So now for single dependents who are either age 65 or older or blind, if any of these apply to you, you must file a return. Now if you recall, I mentioned that if you're age 65 or older or blind, you get that increased standard deduction. So this is going to come into play now. So if your unearned income was more than $2,800 or $4,500 if 65 or older and blind, if your earned income was more than $14,250 or $15,950 if you were 65 or older and blind, or if your gross income was more than the larger of $2,800 or $4,500 if you're 65 or older and blind, or your earned income plus $2,050. Let's talk about the married dependents who were not either age 65 or older or blind. If your gross income was at least $5 and your spouse files a separate return and itemizes deductions, you must file a tax return. If your unearned income was more than $1,100, if your earned income was more than $12,550, or your gross income was more than the larger of $1,100, or your earned income plus $350. For married dependents who were either age 65 or older or blind, you must file a return if any of these apply to you. Your gross income was at least $5 and your spouse files a separate return and itemizes deductions. Your unearned income was more than $2,450 or $3,800 if 65 or older and blind. Your earned income was more than $13,900 or $15,250 if 65 or older and blind. And lastly, if your gross income was more than the larger of $24,000 $2,450, or your earned income plus $1,700. Dependent filing requirements can be a little tricky, so I provide an example here. So we have Mike Anderson, age 18 and not married. He is a dependent of his parents. He had interest income of $800 and wages of $14,400. So he had unearned income of $800 and he had earned income of $14,400. Michael is required to file a tax return. Although his unearned income is less than the $1,100, his earned income, his wages, is greater than $12,550. Let's say if Michael had earned income of $11,800, Michael would still be required to file due to his unearned income of $800. That brings his total gross income to $12,600, which exceeds the $12,550 requirement limit. Moving on to Category 3, certain children under age 19 or full-time students. If a child's only income is unearned, such as interest and dividends, and the child was under age 19 at the end of 2021, or was a full-time student under the age of 24 by the end of the year 2021, and certain other conditions are met, a parent can actually elect to include the child's income on their tax return. If this election is made, the child does not have to file an income tax return. On this slide, you'll notice on the right-hand side there's a chart. It's a guide to when a parent can elect to include a child's income on their return. Now, I believe there's about 11 or 12 questions. I'm not going to read through all of them. I'll go through a few, though, just to get an idea. So question 1 is, was your child under the age of 19 at the end of 2021? If so, you can skip to question 4. If not, continue on to question 2. So we'll skip down to 4. Was the child's only income from interest and dividends, including capital gain distributions and the Alaska Permanent Fund dividends? If so, continue on. We'll skip around to question 7. Is your child filing a joint return for 2021? If not, you can continue to question 8. If so, if yes, you cannot include your child's income on your return. Feel free to go question by question here if any of this pertains to you. Question 11 states, are you the parent whose return must be used? If yes, you can include your child's income on your tax return by completing Form 8814 and attaching it to your return. If you do, your child is not required to file a return. If not, you cannot include your child's income on your tax return. The next category is self-employed persons. You are self-employed if you carry on a trade or business as a sole proprietor, an independent contractor, a member of a partnership, or are in business for yourself in any other way. Self-employment can include work in addition to your regular full-time business activities, such as certain part-time work you do at home or in addition to your regular job. You must file a return if your gross income is at least as much as the filing requirement amount for your filing status and age. Also, you must file Form 1040 and Schedule SE, which is for self-employment tax, if your net earnings from self-employment were $400 or more, or you had a church employee income of $108.28 or more. So let's give you a quick example of a self-employed person. So we have Mark here. He's been in the Carpenters Union for a while, and now he decides to start his own home remodeling business. In the tax year of 2021, Mark's total earning was $45,000. Mark is required to file a return, and he's also required to file a Schedule SE determining his self-employment tax. During my research for this video, I came across this information and I wanted to share it with you. This is why it is so important that we understand taxes. We can't know everything, but it is good to know a little bit so we know what's available to us. So why should you file even if you're not required? If you don't have to file a return, you may want to file a federal income tax return anyway to get any money back if any of the following conditions apply to you. If you had federal income tax withheld or you made estimated tax payments, if you qualify for the Earned Income Tax Credit, you may qualify for the Refundable Child Tax Credit or Additional Child Tax Credit. You may qualify for the Premium Tax Credit or the Health Coverage Tax Credit. You may qualify for the American Opportunity Credit or the credit for federal tax on fuels. You may also qualify for the Child and Dependent Care Credit. There are tons of credits out there that we just don't have the knowledge of that we know that we may qualify for. So it's important to read up on these things. If I haven't made the video yet, I know at some point I'm going to make videos on most of these topics here. So that's why it's important to subscribe, hit that bell so you get a notification on any new videos that are coming out. And the last category here, aliens. Your status as an alien, whether it's resident, non-resident, or dual status, determines whether and how you must file an income tax return. Now, there are a lot of rules that apply to each category or subcategory of aliens, and I only briefly touched on it now, but you can find it at the IRS Publication 17 page. So briefly, the resident alien, if you're a resident alien for the entire year, you must file a tax return. If you're a non-resident alien, the rules and tax forms that apply to you are different from those that apply to U.S. citizens and resident aliens. And you can see Publication 519 to find out if U.S. income tax laws apply to you and which forms you need to file. And if you're a dual status taxpayer, if you are a resident alien for part of the tax year and a non-resident alien for the rest of the year, you are a dual status taxpayer. Different rules apply for each part of the year. So for more information on the dual status taxpayers, see Publication 519. Okay guys, that concludes part 1 of 4. Keep an eye out for 2, 3, and 4, and I have a video on the Earned Income Credit. Please take a look at all those. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something. And go ahead and leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought about this video. Do you feel this video was a little long for your liking? Would you like to see more examples provided throughout the next videos? Let me know what your thoughts are, and let me know if you learned something new that you didn't already know. I'd be happy to hear that. And lastly, of course, leave any comments on any topics you want me to make a video on. As far as this video goes, and part 2, 3, and 4, all this information is from the IRS Publication 17. You're actually able to request a free copy of this guide from the IRS website. I posted the link below if you're interested. Familiarize yourself with it. That way, come tax time, you're more than prepared. And be sure to check out my Instagram, the name _taxfacts_. I'm going to be posting any updated tax information for tax year 2022. I'll be letting you know of any new videos coming out, any most recent IRS information. And check out my TikTok page. I'm going to have a lot of short videos on a wide variety of tax information. It's going to be just the highlights, just the important parts. So you may require a little bit more information on those credits or deductions or whatever it may be that the videos are on. But those will be the highlights, the most important parts you'll need to know. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I hope you'll tune in to the other videos.